All right, magical souls, welcome back to the Heart of Truth podcast. So, we're going to get into a kind of juicy topic today, at least I believe it is the fall of false light and the rise of the rainbow light warriors. So, talking about the duality of this world, of our experience as we navigate the path, as we navigate the hero's journey, if you will. So, we are in a very, very potent time right now. As I sit here and record, it is early mid-March. Well, specifically, it's March 11th of 2025. And this month, so many are feeling is the month. And I know many people have said that and for so many different astrological events and portal dates and so on and so forth. And the truth is, every single one is a threshold. Every single one is a portal, and it's a portal of choice. It's always a choice point for us all. But many are feeling that this month in particular, given the accumulation of all of these events and where we're at collectively, energetically, this is a huge month for the shift. We are in the midst of a shift into these higher frequencies. We are anchoring down higher and higher frequencies of light onto the planet, accessing higher dimensional realms, accessing these much higher frequencies for those of us who have been on the path. So, it was 5D for a while, then it's 7D, and many are now saying it's 9D and above, what is becoming available to us to actually embody and to work with. Now, we don't have to get bogged down in the technicalities of what does it mean to be in 5D versus 7D versus 9D. I'm not going to do that in this episode anyway. Perhaps at a later date, we can get into the nitty-gritty of these different frequencies and what that actually means. But for now, all it really means is where your consciousness and frequency level are at. What is your baseline frequency, and how are you moving through the world? And also, more specifically, where are your thoughts? Where is your mind as you move through the world? Are you really operating in a realm of miracle frequency, which is a huge, I guess, collective message that has been coming through, is really now is an opportunity to truly embody the frequency of miracles, the miracle frequency. This is a message that has been coming through for me for some months now, and it takes time for that to trickle into the physical, for us to truly embody. We've got to release the doubt, the limitation, the lack mindset, the anger, the fear, the resentment, what have you, whatever the programs are that we came here to transmute, to integrate, the karmic contracts we came here to complete, whatever that is for you in particular. This is what we're working with right now, is clearing out anything that is not aligned with truly embodying that miracle frequency. Okay, so, it is, of course, about integrating all the aspects of self. And so as I finished recording my audiobook, which is a huge, huge, it was a huge initiation for me, honestly, to do that. It was the first book I've ever recorded. And I have to say, I think I mentioned this in my previous episode as well, because I had begun the process. It was a whole other level of throat chakra activation and initiation for me to sit and record an audiobook versus a podcast, where right now it's more stream of consciousness. I don't have a huge amount of notes for this versus reading the narrative and speaking it in a way that really connects on a frequency level, because it's a transmission, not just a random story, right? So that was a whole interesting journey for me to go through. But I did, in the last couple of chapters, I was, yeah, I mean, I'll just share the chapter titles, Living the Prophecy, or Living the Prophecies, plural, and You Are the Miracle. Those are the final two chapters. And in the Living the Prophecies, I speak directly about some of the older native prophecies, including the Rainbow Warrior prophecies. So that's where the inspiration for the title of this episode came from. So the rainbow light frequency versus the false light frequency. So when we're on this path of mastery, true mastery, what's been coming through is it's really not sexy to talk about mastery. Most people want to focus on magic and miracles because yes, that is what is becoming available to us. Most people want to talk about manifestation because that is sexy, that is fun. Creating this beautiful reality that is fully abundant and luxurious, and there's not anything necessarily inherently wrong with luxury and abundance. Of course not, because we live in an abundant reality. But what is the frequency from which we're trying to manifest that, to create it, to receive it? Whatever terms you're using for it, is it coming from a service to self ego perspective of receiving through the heart, or is it coming from a space of generous service and then you receive in kind for that offering to humanity? And are you fully embodied in that frequency of being that is a resonant match for God miracle frequency versus, creating and manifesting from the more masculine energy of forcing and doing? And yes, you can manifest from that energy. You can create what you want from that energy, but it's got to be in balance, right? So when we talk about mastery, it's really about getting real with ourselves and taking a step back. Now, to bring this back to the fall of the false light, what was also coming through to share and to speak into is the fact that for me personally, and from what I've witnessed in this world and experienced, because I have been inside so many different containers with so many different teachers, I have been voraciously learning and soaking it all up and going through my processes and initiations. I have always sought out support on this journey. And, it's not from a space of judgment, but from actual experience and knowing what I know now, I can see very clearly that a lot of the containers that I was in, not all of them, and I was very lucky that the first deep dive I did in the actual spiritual ascension realm was very integrated. It was embodied ascension. And so I did have that foundation. That said, as I went deeper onto the priestess path, I did feel that, in hindsight, looking back now, there were some major gaps in a lot of the teachings, and not specific containers per se, but just this pervasive um frequency mismatch. And what it really is a lack of integrity in some cases, and not consciously necessarily, but integrity with what the higher truth of this journey is about, if that makes sense. I really want to be cautious to anchor in truth, but not carry a frequency of judgment or separation, because we're all on the journey remembering and resurrecting the higher truth and wisdom. But there are a lot of distortions in a lot of the teachings. And so what we're doing collectively is restoring the organic templates. And so with all that said, what was coming through to say is that really some of the most masterful teachers that I have come across do not have huge followings. In fact, a lot of people would probably look at their accounts, because we do focus on vanity metrics, and be like, oh, I don't know, this person doesn't have a huge following. Like, do they have much value to share? And what I want to say is I've received the most value from some of these teachers who do not have huge followings. And I'm very grateful that they came into my field. And I'm like, part of me for a while was like, why didn't I learn this stuff before? Well, there's two aspects to that. That very real notion of when the student is ready, the teacher appears. That's very, very true. There are certain teachings that I've been engaged with now that, you know, the, again, I don't want to use hierarchy, but there is advanced light work teachings that I feel are like PhD level, because when you get into it, it's very quantum and it's very technical. And so, somebody earlier on in the journey, yeah, we're meant to start with the manifestation and law of attraction, a lot of us. And we're meant to go through the process of actually healing the physical body first in many cases, because how else are we going to embody these higher frequencies of ascension? How else are we going to have the consciousness level ready for it? It's like, you can't jump from elementary school to PhD. And you can't skip elementary school, secondary school, high school, college, university, whatever you call it, master's degree. You can't skip all those levels before, and then jump into PhD level. You're just not going to be able to grasp it. And so, I don't want to focus so much on the hierarchy aspect, but the truth is there is a structure that has been missing, that some of us are really endeavoring to anchor back in, because there is a structure to the process. And so the fall of false light is about these distorted teachings and the teachers operating in distortion, the gurus, the people who are in service to self, the people operating out of integrity when they hold spaces, who don't know how to clear because maybe they didn't learn it, and some of them don't know, but some of them are very conscious of what they're doing and are straight up even predatorial. Excuse me, predatorial. See, it's like my throat like broke when I was saying that, because these are not comfortable things to acknowledge or confront. And you know, there are people who are very conscious and aware that they are operating out of integrity, that they are using people, manipulating people, operating that spiritual ego, that spiritual narcissism, even. And there are some who actually don't know. They don't have that level of awareness. It doesn't make what they're doing right per se, but it's like, okay, we've got to have compassion for people, because a lot of them have actually been taken over by energies and entities in the astral. For example, the lower astral realms. They become a vessel for that energy that is not of true light. They might have connected with these beings in a plant medicine ceremony thinking that it's the true Jesus, but it's a false AI holographic version of Yeshua. So, we have compassion for even those who are kind of consciously operating in out of integrity, rather, because that's part of their soul journey and their karma to work through, and whatever. But at the end of the day, we are here to restore the higher truth, to restore the organic teachings, to restore the organic templates. And those of us who are here to do that, a lot of us have gone through deep initiations and have had to basically navigate the distortions we've had. And so, for me personally, years ago, I got a reading and I was like, this doesn't make sense. Like, what? So I'm saying this from a space of humility, because at the time I was like, this lady's crazy. What is she talking about? How could that be me? Like, who am I to do this? And basically the message was, you are here to be a teacher of teachers, a spiritual teacher. And I was like, a teacher of teachers? Come again? Like, I don't, like, I'm a baby to this. I'm new to this. And that's quite the point, though, right? We've all got to start somewhere, and then we've got to move through the initiations. And there were so many times I was like, I figured it out. I think I finally got it. And then that just opened up a whole other realm. And, I just know that there's just going to continue to be so much more and more and more. But what I've had to do is move through a lot of the distorted teachings that are basically based on false templates, even. And again, a lot of those teachers don't know that they're false. They don't know that there's frequency traps and ascension traps infused into these teachings, like the false tree of life, the inorganic tree of life. For example, there is a frequency trap in these teachings that will keep people in loops or keep them trapped at a certain level of consciousness, so we can't truly ascend into Christ consciousness, which is really truly 12D. and then accessing like the God world frequencies, the miracle frequencies, anchoring in the miracle template. You've got to be able to move through these frequency fences. And so part of the initiations for us have been to experience the quote unquote false light, to go through these teachings so that we could break these glass ceilings, so that we could figure out what was actual higher truth. Because if you're operating in the realm of, the healing's actually working, you're not meant to stay in loops. You're not meant to stay in a healing loop. You're not meant to be constantly healing, right? And so a lot of the distortion is so subtle, and people are not readily able to recognize it, right? So, for me, I've gone through deep initiation. I've alluded to this numerous times, but this healer that was really not a healer and kind of did quite the opposite to me, I had blinders on, right? So, part of my journey has been to release the self-blame and the shame for not recognizing that, because my intuition is my superpower. And I'm like, how did I not recognize that? And so a lot of it was like, the bitterness and the anger and the frustration with myself more than anything else for not having caught on to that sooner. And then I realized at a certain point, and there was still some layers to work through, but at a certain point I realized it was always meant to happen that way, because I talked to people and they're like, yeah, I never really understood why you were friends with that person. I felt the darkness in them. And I was like, how did everybody else see this except for me? And then I realized it was part of my path. We could call it a karmic contract, but part of the journey is to go through these really intense initiations to be able to reclaim the aspects of self, but also to resurrect these true organic teachings, and to clear these false timelines, to clear the separation wounds, to clear the original fall of consciousness and separation timelines, for example. So some of this goes really, really deep, and certain of us are, here to kind of pave the way, and some of us are here to operate in very specific ways. So, I am a healer, but in this lifetime, I am here to be a teacher, to teach other people how to be their own healer, to teach other people how to liberate their own consciousness and to free their voices and to reclaim their power, right? So for me, I've really had to basically detach myself from a lot of those false light teachings and detach myself from those energetic cords that, came through from being exposed to this energy. But life is the greatest teacher, right? So it's through the crucible of the journey that compresses that coal so intensely that it becomes the diamond. That's how we become the diamond, right? That's how we become the infinitely faceted, crystalline, rainbow light diamond. So the false light is empty. False light is empty and hollow, and it looks good. It's that superficial light, that veneer, those vanity metrics, again, to come back to that. So it's like those gurus talking about manifesting your most amazing abundant life, but a lot of them will keep you in a space of not quite totally getting there. Like they leave out that last degree or that last key. And they keep you like needing to be in their energy, for example. So it's very subtle a lot of the time. They can look and appear to be not just playing the part but to be the embodiment of what they claim to be. It can be so subtle, but then once you get really attuned to energy and you become, step into the level of energy mastery, then you can pick up on that. And sometimes it's just so subtle, but it's in the frequency with which they speak and the messages that they share. There's something slightly off, something slightly off. And so a lot of the people who have the big followings now, it's because they made some kind of energetic contract, consciously or not, with a lower dimensional being. that helped them, elevate to this level of success, but for the express purpose of keeping people off the path and getting them caught in false ascension traps. Unfortunately, that is the truth. So, what we've got to do is just be really highly discerning with ourselves. Who do we trust? And what is the higher truth? And not everybody out there has ill intentions by a long shot, but what is coming is a wave of people who are ready to step into the higher organic truth of these higher teachings. So the true rainbow warriors of true diamond light. So that diamond light, that rainbow light is emanating from within. And this also gets into the crystalline plasma essence of the higher truth. I'm getting um, goosebumps. I'm getting chills down my leg as I share this. But the aurora frequencies are coming through. So it's this kind of iridescent, pearlescent frequency of the rainbow, kind of the lighter aspect of the rainbow, if you will. So the two for me come through quite a lot. The kind of aurora, flowy, pearlescent frequency of the rainbow, as well as the diamond rainbow, and they're both perfectly valid. But that kind of crystalline essence and aspect coming through, it is multifaceted, it is multidimensional, and it has been forged through the pressure, just like the phoenix rising up from the ashes, having already been burnt. So I always imagine the phoenix with golden wings, right? So, it's allowing this beautiful majesty to be reflected out through us, through that rainbow spectrum of light, embodying all of the different rays and frequencies of this beautiful, complex, multidimensional light, true light, higher light from the higher realms. So, higher is hierarchy, but those expanded realms of consciousness that are full and whole and complete. This is what it means to be whole. And it's also, of course, connected to the chakras, the 7 chakras of the body representing the 7 rays of light. So when we activate this and embody this, it's because we've gone through the initiations. It's because we've walked the path of mastery, not manifestation, not magic. It's mastery. And yes, this is how we then access true miracle frequency. So, mastery is the path to miracles. Magic and manifestation are fun, and there is an aspect of that that becomes part of the reality when we walk the path of mastery for sure. But I do prefer creation to manifestation. Manifestation. But very much so, mastery is the foundation. Mastery is the path that we walk on to become true leaders, true healers, true teachers, true way showers. So if you're not embodied, people are going to feel that lack of authenticity, that, that perhaps there's still a mask there, that you're holding back a bit, still playing small. This has been a huge part of my journey because I was so shy, and I have dealt with a lot of projection and, a lot of really, really challenging, heartbreaking, um, situations that really made me question and doubt myself on a lot of levels. And so for me, playing small felt safe for a while because I was literally concerned for my genuine actual safety. People trying to throw me into a psychosis, that's not fun. So I had to kind of retreat back into my shell, but it's when you're in that crucible that you find that light within. You find that ultimate power, the purity of your innocence, the purity of the diamond. You can look at it like a pearl as well, that pearlescent essence shining through and radiating and reflecting pure, innocent beauty out into the world, and not innocent from a space of naivete, very different. That pure innocence of your divine holy child within. So this is the path that I have been endeavoring to walk and, have been walking. And I'm going to share uh, these verses that came through. I don't know if I would call it a poem or not. I never considered myself to be a poet, but I'm going to share this that I added into my book at the end of the introduction, as well as the Rainbow Warrior Prophecy. So, well, I'll just share the Hopi prophecy because it's nice and short. But the Hopi prophecy decrees, when the earth is dying, there shall arise a new tribe of all colors and all creeds. This tribe shall be called the Warriors of the Rainbow, and it will put its faith in actions, not words. So again, that's speaking into the embodiment aspect of being a way shower. You can't just talk the talk. You've got to walk the walk and live the truth in an authentic manner. You've got to actually be doing the practices that you tell everybody else to do. You've got to be in devotion and daily dedication, in true commitment to shining forth your own unique fractal of radiance into the world. And that can require going through a lot of deep inner work. And typically, that is what is required to be able to radiate your true authenticity because of where humanity has been consciousness wise and the amount of trauma that we have embodied with. But that is exactly what we're here to do, is to integrate the trauma and the wounds, and that's how we become that brilliant multifaceted diamond. So this is really about embodying your higher self. As I pull up the poem, I just had this image that I created, like a vision board that is more the essence of my higher self. So let me get that out of the way. But I don't think that was an accident, because this is really what our higher self is our authentic version of self, wanting to come down and anchor into the physical form. So when we talk about being the rainbow bridge, for example, it's about activating the chakras, clearing out the densities, and creating the space for our higher aspects of self, our multidimensional aspects of self, to really anchor in. And I just got full chills up my other leg this time. Right? So, all right, let me share this poem now. Poem, I guess I'm calling it a poem. When I say love and light, I mean the kind of light that was born from the darkness, the kind of light birthed from the crucible of the womb of alchemy. Diamond light formed under the pressure and radiating the full spectrum of brilliance through its multifaceted nature. The light you had to walk through the tunnel in utter darkness with only the guiding inner light of faith to find on the other side. The light of the heavens you could only return to after going through the depths of hell. This light isn't empty. It is full, radiant, whole, pure and holy only because you walked through the flames of alchemy to rise like the sun, illuminating the world with sheer power and grace. Blossoming is an ongoing process, but the more you commit and allow the process to unfold, the lighter and brighter you feel. Eventually, the diamond at the center will be revealed, illuminating the pure brilliance of your being. I promise, you're worth it. So, whatever we want to call that, that's what came through one day. And it's a standalone aspect of the introduction, I suppose you could say, of my book. But this, to me, really gets to the core of the journey. It's about walking the walk, going through those initiations, those tests, walking through the heart of darkness is really what has come through numerous times. To get to that treasure chest within, you've got to go through the darkness and peel back those layers of the onion, right? And it's not an easy path to walk, moving through the pain and the density and the heartbreak and the anger and the resentment and the trauma and the self-doubt. That's a huge one for so many as well. So Yeah, it's really such a rewarding journey, and it's not easy. It's not navigating the path and dealing with the distortions of the false light that keep you off the path. You know, I want to speak into also the idea of people who, after going through spirituality, they leave and run back to Jesus. And of course, I have a deep connection with Yeshua. But I want to be very clear, Jesus from the Bible and that kind of born again Christian, that is another frequency trap. Many people do find liberation from certain aspects of the false light that they deal with, but it's not spirituality itself that was the problem. It was the false teachings and the false light distortions that opened them up without giving them the tools to have the discernment to be able to protect their field, to be able to cleanse their field, to be able to clear those energies that attach to us. Like pretty much everybody has attachments of some kind, except for maybe the select few who have kind of reached that point of true embodiment. But I think very few humans alive right now have gotten to that point. So, spirituality isn't the problem. It is the false teachings and ungrounded teachings, the distorted teachings that don't teach you how to hold space properly, that don't teach you how to clear properly. It's like, okay, it's nice to connect with the goddesses, but who are you really connecting with? It's nice to dabble in the realms of, working with crystals and magic, but also recognizing that anything that is a tool outside of us that can carry some kind of distortion, and it can also be a vessel in itself. But from that perspective, the cross. The cross itself carries a lot of distortion. It's a cube folded out, and the black cube matrix is that, it's a false crucifixion matrix. So we've got to be really careful with the actual Christian path. So again, remember that the Bible was highly edited, highly edited, and there was a lot left out of the Bible. I speak about this in my book too, some of the more specific aspects of it, but I think it was over 500 off the top of my head, over 500 original Gospels, and we're down to 27 in the New Testament. And who edited that? Right? So we've got to be so cautious because there are a lot of really core, true teachings contained within the Bible, and there's also a lot of distortion. So it's similar with spirituality. Just running back to Jesus as your savior, anything that is outside of yourself is still operating in distortion. Worshipping a cross is the same thing as worshiping a crystal, okay? It's so funny to me that people who just, it's like the Bible is the answer. The cross is the only symbol. I'm like, that's still a symbol. That's still something external. If we recognize everything as a tool rather than the answer, that's a different energy, right? So anything outside of ourselves is only going to keep us in that victimhood, to keep us in the separation. So I think I'm going to wrap this episode up here for today. I feel like the transmission that wants to come through for this subject is feeling rather complete, just to anchor us back in to the higher truth that is available to us is absolutely miraculous. And it is absolutely full of magic. And yes, you can create the most beautiful life. And this is how we create heaven on earth, an incredibly beautiful, abundant reality. But what is the version of abundance that you're stepping into, and how are you creating it? Is it in true service to the greater good of all? And are you allowing the divine to guide you as you step into your true heart service? Your true divine service as a sacred vessel of higher truth and divinity. So allowing that to lead is the key. And it's not easy, actually. So if you want to go deeper into this work, I am hosting Energy Mastery, the Body Temple Blueprint Level 2, to really anchor in the structure. There is a structure to our light body. There is a process to this path that I wish I had known earlier. And there's very specific ways to command space and to clear the vessel and to remove energies and entities. There is a lot there actually that I wish I had known sooner. And so this is something that I have been really diving into more deeply, these more, technical, we could call them that, more advanced technical ascension teachings. There's a structure to the light body. There is a specific organic template that we are meant to resurrect. So, as we go through this journey, you will receive the actual tools and the guidance. You will get to practice it. You will receive activations, honing your intuition, being able to trust your inner guidance. I feel like that's a huge thing for so many, is learning to trust their inner guidance and then really unlocking the energy centers and opening up your throat, accessing your inner power and embodying it, and really becoming in alignment with your higher self. So, if you want to work with me one-on-one, that's also an option. And all of this is available inside Luminary, my ultimate container that includes everything. It's my signature container. So you'd get automatic access to the Body Temple Blueprint with that, and then everything inside my school. The Body Temple Blueprint Level 2 includes complimentary access to Level 1, the foundation, which includes like the baseline of breath work and cleansing your body and getting the physical vessel in its most optimal shape possible, to be able to anchor down these higher frequencies, plus the mindset work, plus the connection with the higher self. So there's lots of activations that will be included with this. And there will be this rebirth as we move through the energies of the spring equinox. So we have, March to wrap it up. We've got these powerful energies of the solstice is the equinox. I'm getting all my words mixed up. The eclipses. We have two eclipses in March, the 14th and the 29th, and then spring equinox in between. So a lot of very, very potent and high frequency rebirth energies coming through. In addition to all the Schumann resonance and solar energies that have been working through us, the Schumann resonance has been insane lately leading up to this recording and transmission. So a lot of people are feeling it very deeply at a cellular level, and it's a lot to deal with. And so a lot of what I teach is the practical levels of, are you hydrating? Are you grounding? And breath work, but really getting into the structure and all that. And then knowing how to properly command your space and work with that energy of those higher realms is what we're going to deepen into, and then activating the emerald crystal heart and how to access the records and how to access your records. So we're going to really work with all of these energies. So, and how to do it. Practical teaching, not just learning about things, but learning how to do things. So this is what I'm offering at the moment, and there's a lot there. I promise there's a lot there that I've been guided to include in this, and it's really all stuff that I feel, would have helped me had I found it earlier on the journey. And I also know that this is exactly the path that I was meant to walk so that I could create these containers. So if you're interested, the details will be down below the video. You can go to amandaerinkelly.com and then just click on Illumina Wisdom School links there. It'll bring you directly there. And then the Body Temple Blueprint Level 2 is the container that I am discussing, Energy Mastery specifically. So everything I create is always recorded and available after the fact as well. So whenever you hear this, it will be there. And of course, my book, which I shared a little bit from on this episode, Let There Be Light, Liberating the Heart of Humanity to Create Heaven on Earth. I just knocked my mic. Sorry about that. Got excited. That's of course available. And soon Yay! The audiobook will be available as well. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for being here, onward and upward in love and light as we journey home to the heart of truth. And I will see you soon. Thank you for tuning in to the Heart of Truth podcast with your host, Amanda Erin Kelly. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a rating or review on your favorite platform. And if you'd like to go deeper, grab your copy of my book, Let There Be Light, and join us inside the free community in Illumina Wisdom School, where you can access free resources to jumpstart your journey, such as a higher self activation and the Body Temple Blueprint Masterclass, as well as explore the plethora of resources, including Awakening Fundamentals and Luminary, my signature path to wholeness and mastery, to help you become your own healer and sovereign authority. You can access everything at thisartcalledlife.com or find the links down in the show notes below. Until next time, onward and upward in love and light as we journey home to the heart of truth.